So their social media, I think, is usually the first thing that comes to my mind. But then also the movies and or the books that they're currently popular, that they're engaged in, or that they're interested in hearing about and seeing about and trying to make connections to those things.
Using pop culture, what are ways you engage your students?
I think the main way that I think is using Instagram. I started using Instagram about 2 years ago, and all I do is take a picture of my agenda on my board each day and post it to Instagram. I also use it when I want to notify the kids about activities that are coming up. So when we had our Royal See Week, I posted each night, you know, hey, remember tomorrow you need to wear your pajamas, you need to be a superhero. And I also rewarded the kids who participated by each day I take a picture of the class at the very beginning of the period, and I post that on Instagram so we can see which of my classes are the most involved and who's really going out of their way to have spirit. And they really love that. I gained so many followers in that week when, you know, they knew that their pictures were being posted on my Instagram, so I did that. I also, there's an app that I use like when we do a particular physics lesson, which the kids love, where I show them, or we talk about how your hearing changes over your lifetime. And so there's a app called High Frequency Sounds. And so I play for them the high frequency sounds, and they are shocked and just appalled that I can sit there and practically put them in pain from the sounds that they're hearing and genuinely cannot hear it. Like it just, they're like, there's no way you can't hear that. And I really can't. And I love it because it's me getting to take my phone out and show them, look, this is something that's really truly science, and they find it fascinating. So it's cool. I like that kind of thing, bringing that in.
Do you play, or would you play video clips, show magazine articles, Facebook articles that you find?
Absolutely. I do definitely use articles. Articles are a great way to bring it in. I love that I'm older. I know Facebook's not so much a kid thing anymore, as was pointed out to me by a couple people, but that's fine. I'm good with that. I found a really awesome picture of tree sap when we were talking about fossils that had what they call the dinosaur feather, like that transition from dinosaurs to birds, and it's this perfectly preserved feather. And it's so cool that, you know, that came from social media. I can put it up there, just, you know, quickly show it to them, and they love it. Same with magazines, just little clips of articles here and there, or video clips too, that just are so varied and a lot more interesting than just what they see in the book, or bringing other things in, or even today just doing Google images to show them, we're talking about continental drift, what does a Mesosaurus look like? Like they see the picture in the book, but here's 20 more images of artist renderings of what it looks like, and they're all engaged because I'm showing them just a little bit more about what that is. So
I'm sure that everyone has their phone right now, and then on their Facebook, you know, they're scrolling up and down. So next time, I suggest you in the next 20 minutes or so, you probably do this, when you scroll up and down on your update, think about a way that you can integrate what you see on your newsfeed into your teaching. So I find that it develops a bit of a commonality between your students, and it brings the lives of students and teachers into a classroom and harnesses greater engagement. I felt that during prac where I could really relate to my students because I was talking about voice, or I was talking about so thinking and dance. And yeah, and it provides this sense of belonging in a society, and I hope that even like subject like mathematics, I will be able to address issues that directly affect the lives of my students and be a part of the development of students that think critically about their world that they live in. So not just think about how mathematics really relates to their lives.
type music lyrics to connect with the students, something that they would be familiar with, something that they would know. And on the reverse, I use more hip-hop, R&B music, and that would reach my students. But the trick there is to get to know your students. It may not be the type of music or the type of pop culture that you as the instructor prefer, but to know the students, that's the idea. What are they into? What television shows are they talking about? What movies? What YouTube clips would they relate to? So getting to know the students is the very first step. And then the second step is the willingness to immerse yourself into that culture of your students to find good examples of your content. There are wonderful examples out there, and we've talked today with 60 educators who have said, yes, I use that too. I use this movie or I use this clip to illustrate something that I am teaching in my course, or I use this advertisement, or we use this music selection. So just being able to submerge yourself. I used to have NPR as my radio station in my car, and now hip-hop station, just so that I can find the topics that my students might relate to. Jennifer will tell you then the next 2 steps in our program.
Before we go over there, are you talking about any particular division of courses, or any fields or departments, or just anything at all?
That's a wonderful question. Jennifer and I teach writing. We teach English. So discussion and language fits a little easier. But we do have some examples. We've gone to other colleagues that they use it in psychology, sociology, math. We had several philosophy teachers stop by today. So I think the theory applies to all disciplines. It may be easier in some than in others, but the idea is to, find that culture and connect it with your content.
Hi, I'm Jennifer Witt, Director of College Writing for Baker College of Cadillac. Lisa told you about knowing your students and knowing their culture, and then the next part is you've got to know your content. Once you have figured out who your students are and what they know, you have to figure out what it is or how it is that the popular culture will fit in with the content. You've got to look at the class as a whole, a set of interdependent skills, and then find out where that pop culture will fit in. Once you have determined that, then you go into the different assignments. You can use the pop culture to facilitate discussions, group discussions, small groups, large group projects, writing assignments, whatever it is. We do have a few examples that we would want to share with people. For the writing classroom, it's easy. Use song lyrics to teach poetry, video clips to teach literature. You can show a part of 10 Things I Hate About You, the film, before you teach Taming of the Shrew. It's just a hook to get students involved. But then the other content area instructors will say, how on earth do I do this in math? We'll say, well, Penn and Teller have a great TV show, and it's Bull, and so they've got a great episode called Statistics, and it talks about, that 4 out of 5 dentists do whatever, and it debunks and shows how those statistics can be skewed. It's a great way to teach statistics. The movie V is for Vendetta. That'd be a great way to teach government control and culture. What else? Silly as it is, Big Brother or The Bachelor in sociology to look at group mentality and group behavior. Everybody thinks forensic science is so cool right now, so why not use clips from Criminal Minds and the criminal profiling to talk about forensic science? Just interesting ways as a hook. A lot of people also think that using these popular references is dumbing the content down, and that's really not it at all. It's just a bridge between you and the student. Students are over here, instructors are over here, and we need to find a way to come together and make that material a common language.
it seems we hear more stories about how young kids are bored by school. We know technology is pushing up against traditional education. Schools and teachers are scrambling to keep up and at least try to stay somewhat relevant. One way to do this might be to use hip-hop and education along with rap, marry the two of them together. Dr. Shirley Steinberger is here with us. So we've talked about this at length in the last couple of years, trying to keep young folks interested in what's going on in their schools, and what's behind the idea of incorporating hip-hop and rap into that.
Well, one of the ideas is to engage kids. You engage them in the culture that they're most comfortable with. And the majority of kids today listen to hip-hop. All over the world, hip-hop is the language of youth. It's a culture, it's not a subculture, it's an entire way of seeing the world. Along with that, we engage kids that are not normally privileged to do sports or to take lessons, that kind of thing, who do use more urban ways of expression like graffiti or hip-hop and rap to express themselves. We take it to the classroom and we incorporate it that way.
We're looking at some video of a recent event here in Montreal that brought together a whole bunch of different groups to sort of push this forward and sort of explore what you're talking about.
Right. This group here is of 18 and 15-year-old mix of kids from city high schools in Montreal. These kids are from Côte-des-Neiges area. They go to a drop-in center called Maison des Jeunes. There they learn to do different kinds of work that can be carried into their future. They learn to do mixes. They learn to do graffiti. They learn to do hip-hop, rap, music, and to do the spoken word, which is a form of poetry.
Okay, now you know a lot about the way the education system is structured, and you're a critic of it to a certain extent. How practical is it to try to incorporate this kind of thing into a formal educational system?
Incredibly practical, because it doesn't cost anything. That's the thing, is if you don't have computers, you don't have anything. This is an urban form of expression, meaning it doesn't cost anything because people in the urban areas traditionally don't have a lot of resources. It's sort of along the same way Stomp does music and percussion by using old garbage cans. Well, hip-hop is through language, it's through words. It's also a good conflict resolution. I have honestly seen two guys come at each other with really bad feelings about one another, taking it out to the street and doing what's called freestyle, doing a battle between them in hip-hop words and language, and settle their problems.
Do you think the education system gets it, for lack of a better term? Because this would involve a rethink, right? A rethink on the part of a lot of people.
No, I don't think it gets it. I think that education wants to stay the way it was 50 years, 70 years ago. And I think until teachers and administrators and ministries understand that we need to contextualize teaching to the kids whom we're teaching, we need to come from where they understand us. Language arts and language is always the same. It's grammar, it's spelling. That can be done boring, or it can be done with rhyme and with spoken word and poetry and hip-hop and movement.
What's the danger if people out there don't feel included?
That they'll find something that maybe not as safe or healthy to get involved in. This is the kind of work that kids will come to because they're interested. And we have several high schools here in Montreal that are very anxious to get their students in doing spoken word and hip-hop.
Thanks for coming on.
Thanks, Todd.
Appreciate it.